You've got to be kidding me, Zarnath 427 chittered, his antennae twitching in disbelief as he stared at the data pad. They want us to include humans in the Galactic Academy's physical education program. His colleague Vinix39 let out a wobbling laugh that sounded like a kazoo being strangled by a rubber chicken. Oh, this is going to be hilarious. Have you ever seen a human try to move? They're like, what's that earth creature? A sloth, but even less graceful. The two Zarnakian physical education instructors were huddled in their office. A chaotic space that looked like it had been decorated by a tornado with a penchant for neon and motivational posters featuring tentacled beings striking triumphant poses. A pair of cloud puffs floated lazily by the window, their fluffy forms occasionally drifting past motivational quotes. But they're from a Deathworld. Zarnath protested, his exoskeleton shifting colors in agitation. They'll get squished like a jelly slug in our standard routines. Vinix waved a dismissive appendage. Relax, my anxious friend. We'll just put them in the remedial class with the Gorthax. You know, the species that evolved in a gas giant and thinks gravity is a myth. Just then, the door slid open with a hiss, revealing a human standing in the doorway. Both Zarnakians froze, wondering if the human had overheard their less than flattering conversation. Ah, hi there, the human said, flashing a toothy grin that made both aliens instinctively want to hide under their desks. I'm Jake Armstrong, one of the new transfer students from Earth. I was told to come here for my physical education assessment. Zarnath and Vinix exchanged a look that screamed, we're so screwed in at least 17 different alien languages. Of course, Vinix said, his voice an octave higher than usual. Welcome, Jake, from Earth. We were just discussing the exciting new additions to our program. Jake's grin widened. Great. I've always loved sports. Back on Earth, I was on the wrestling team, did some parkour, a bit of ultramarathon running, you know, just to keep in shape. The Zarnakian's eye stalks bulged simultaneously. Zarnath regained his composure first. Well, that's impressive, but I'm sure you'll find our galactic physical education program quite different from what you're used to. Jake shrugged, a motion that fascinated the aliens. How did those shoulder joints not dislocate? I'm always up for a challenge. So where do we start? Vinix cleared his throat, which sounded like a garbage disposal trying to blend gravel and rubber ducks. Typically, we begin with a simple warm-up. Just a light jog around the gravity flux arena sounds great, Jake said enthusiastically. Lead the way. As they made their way to the arena, Zarnath whispered to Vinix, the gravity flux arena. Are you insane? That's where we train the advanced sentient shock troopers, Vinix chittered back. Relax. The human will take one look at it and probably faint. Then we can put him in the remedial class without hurting his feelings. Oh, how wrong they were. The gravity flux arena was a massive dome, its interior a swirling maelstrom of shifting gravitational fields. Platforms floated at various heights, some spinning, others phasing in and out of existence. Beams of energy crisscrossed the space, creating zones of intense gravity or near zero G. Jake's eyes lit up like a kid in a candy store. Ooh, this is awesome. It's like Super Mario Galaxy meets American Ninja Warrior. Zarnath and Vinix exchanged confused looks. They made a mental note to research these apparently terrifying Earth training programs later. Now, Jake Vinix began cautiously. The goal is simply to make it from this platform to the one on the far side of the arena. Don't worry if you can't. But Jake was already off, leaping from the starting platform with a whoop of joy. The aliens watched in horror as the human sailed through the air, twisting his body to slip between gravity beams. By the great cosmic jellyfish, Zarnath breathed, his exoskeleton turning a pale shade of disbelief. Jake hit a spinning platform, but instead of being flung off, rolled with the motion, using the centrifugal force to launch himself toward a series of tiny phasing platforms. Is he humming? Vinix asked incredulously. Indeed. As Jake bounced from one disappearing foothold to another, a jaunty tune echoed through the arena. It sounded suspiciously like I want to be the very best. Other alien students began to gather at the entrance, drawn by the spectacle. A group of Gorthax oozed in, their gelatinous bodies quivering in awe. What manner of being is that? One gurgled. I think it's called a human, another replied. I heard they come from a mythical place called Earth, where the gravity is so strong it would turn us into puddles. Oblivious to his growing audience, Jake was now in the zone. He swung from a series of anti-gravity rings like a deranged space monkey. As he approached a section of intense gravity, he didn't slow down. Instead, he angled his body, and as he surfing the gravity well, Zarnath screeched. Indeed, Jake had somehow figured out how to ride the waves of gravitational force, propelling himself forward at even greater speeds. He shot through the heavy G zone like a bullet, emerging on the other side with a backflip that would have made an Olympic gymnast weep with envy. The final obstacle was a massive void of 0G, stretching what seemed like an impossible distance to the final platform. Jake paused at the edge, surveying the challenge before him. The aliens held their breath, those that had breath to hold anyway. Then, with a running start that made several Zarlakians faint from the sheer speed, Jake launched himself into the void. He soared through the emptiness, his trajectory a perfect arc toward the finish. For a moment, it seemed like he might fall short, but then impossibly he started swimming. Using a butterfly stroke that would have made Michael Phelps proud, Jake propelled himself through the vacuum. With a final surge, he grabbed the edge of the last platform, pulling himself up and striking a pose that wouldn't have been out of place on a cheesy 80s action movie poster. The arena erupted in alien cheers, whoops, and various species-specific sounds of amazement. Tentacles waved, antennae vibrated, and the cloud puffs bubbled enthusiastically. Jake jogged back to the stunned Zarnakian instructors, barely out of breath. Wow, that was fun. Great warm-up. Zarnath's eye stalks had twisted themselves into a pretzel. Venix's exoskeleton had cycled through so many colors he looked like a disco ball having an existential crisis. Next, Zarnath stammered. "Yeah, I'm all warmed up now. Ready for the real workout." Jake bounced on his toes, looking expectant. Venix finally found his voice, though it came out as more of a squeak. That was the advanced course. You just broke every record we had." Jake's face fell. "Oh no. Did I do something wrong?" "I didn't break any rules, did I?" Zarnath laughed hysterically. "There aren't supposed to be any rules because no one has ever actually completed the course before." A small Gorthax oozed forward, its eye stalks trembling with excitement. "Excuse me, Mr. Human, sir. Could you teach us how to move like that?" Jake's face lit up. "Of course. It's all about understanding your body's center of gravity and how to manipulate it. Here, let me show you a simple parkour roll." And so began the strangest physical education class in the history of the Galactic Academy. Jake, the accidental instructor, started teaching a motley crew of alien students everything from basic tumbling to advanced 0G maneuvering techniques. The Gorthax, inspired by Jake's fluid movements, learned to shape their gelatinous bodies into more efficient forms, soon bouncing and rolling through obstacle courses with surprising agility. Even the gaseous Syrians, who usually drifted aimlessly on solar winds, learned to jet through tight spaces with precision. As for Zarnath and Venix, they watched in a mixture of awe and existential dread as their impossible obstacle course became child's play for increasingly confident alien students. "We're going to lose our jobs," Zarnath moaned, his antennae drooping. Venix, however, had a gleam in his eye stalks. "No, my friend. We're going to revolutionize galactic physical education. Think about it, if we can train other species to even approach the capabilities of humans, we'll be hailed as visionaries." Zarnath considered this for a moment. "You know, you might be right. But first, we need to redesign this entire arena. It's clearly not challenging enough." As if on cue, Jake's voice rang out from somewhere near the ceiling. "Hey guys, check this out. I think if we recalibrate the gravity flux generator, we can create a triple axial spin zone. It'll be like trying to navigate the inside of a blender." The Zarnakians looked at each other, then at the enthusiastic human hanging upside down from an anti-gravity ring, surrounded by a group of awestruck alien students attempting to mimic his position. On second thought, Venix chittered, "Maybe we should just let the human design the new course." Zarnath nodded fervently. "Agreed. And then we'll find a nice quiet desk job. Perhaps in the quantum physics department. I hear it's much less stressful." As they watched Jake demonstrate how to do a backflip in variable gravity, a move that caused several arachnoids to tie their legs in knots, the two Zarnakians knew one thing for certain: the Galactic Academy would never be the same again. In the weeks that followed, the Galactic Academy became the center of a new kind of physical education revolution, all thanks to Jake Armstrong. Word of the human's incredible feats spread like wildfire across the cosmos. Students from all corners of the galaxy flocked to his impromptu training sessions, eager to learn his gravity-defying techniques and parkour mastery. Alien species that had once viewed humans as clumsy and slow now looked at Jake as a force of nature, a being capable of bending physics to his will. One day, as Zarnath 427 and Venix 39 sat in their newly upgraded office, which now featured holographic displays and a constantly shifting gravity trainer, they couldn't help but marvel at the change Jake had brought. Their cloud puffs floated lazily above their desks, occasionally swatting at passing jelly slugs that left behind trails of glowing slime. I never thought I'd see the day when a Gorthax would execute a triple somersault, Zarnath mused, watching footage from the latest training session. And now they're practically doing it in their sleep. Venix, reviewing the latest interspecies agility reports, chittered with excitement. It's incredible. Every species here is adapting faster than we could have ever imagined. The Syrians are mastering jet propulsion, the Gorthax are showing remarkable flexibility, and even the Zarlakians, who normally can't even stand under high gravity, are thriving in zero-G obstacle courses. Suddenly, the door to their office slid open with a familiar hiss. Jake bounded in, his usual wide grin plastered across his face. He was carrying what looked like a diagram of some kind, and Zarnath and Venix braced themselves. Whenever Jake showed up with new ideas, chaos wasn't far behind. "Guys, I've got an idea for the next training course," Jake announced, unfurling the diagram onto their desk. "It's going to be epic. Picture this: a multi-level gravity maze, where each section has a different gravitational pull. We throw in moving platforms, energy fields, and a water element for the Aquarians." Zarnath blinked his eye stalks in unison. "A water element? In the gravity flux arena?" Jake nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah. The Aquarians need a challenge too. Plus, I figured we could add floating jelly slugs. They're great at sticking to surfaces, so they could be a fun obstacle. Just imagine dodging jelly slugs while you're trying to surf a gravity well." Venix let out a low whistle, his eye stalks flicking between Jake and the diagram. "You do realize that sounds insane, right?" Jake just shrugged. "Yeah, but that's what makes it fun." Before Zarnath or Venix could protest, the door hissed open again, revealing Chancellor Zoralux and Vice Chancellor Krenix. Their glowing and buzzing forms were a stark contrast to the ever-enthusiastic human. "Ah, Jake, Zarnath." Venix Chancellor Zoralux's voice pulsed with calm authority. "We've come to discuss the latest developments. It seems the entire academy is now focused on physical education." Vice Chancellor Krenix's swarm-like body buzzed with agitation. "Do you know how much we've had to increase the equipment budget for these training courses? Half the academy is petitioning for their departments to be upgraded with anti-gravity chambers and obstacle courses." Zarnath tried to stammer an apology, but Jake jumped in with his usual enthusiasm. "Hey, that's great. More departments should get involved. We could have the quantum physics department practice their calculations while navigating a gravity field, or the culinary arts students could learn to cook while floating. How cool would that be?" Krenix's buzzing reached a higher pitch, but Chancellor Zoralux's glow brightened with amusement. "There is no doubt that the academy has changed, Jake, and while it's been costly, the results are undeniable. Students from all over the galaxy are not only physically excelling but developing new problem-solving skills. You've inspired an evolution, not just in fitness but in how beings approach challenges." Jake scratched his head, looking a bit sheepish. "Well, I'm just glad everyone's having fun. But speaking of challenges, I've got this new idea for an intergalactic sports event. We'll call it the Galactic Games, and we'll invite every species to compete in events like gravity surfing, zero-G parkour, and high-speed jelly slug dodging. It'll be legendary." Venix muttered under his breath. "This human is going to be the end of us." Zarnath's antennae twitched nervously, but he nodded slowly. "Or he'll turn us into legends." Chancellor Zoralux exchanged a look with Krenix, their decision seemingly already made. "Very well, Jake. Let's see what this Galactic Games can do. I'll have the council start preparations." As the chancellors left, Jake pumped his fist in victory. Yes, this is going to be so awesome. Venix sighed. Well, it looks like we're going to need more safety waivers. And a bigger infirmary, Zarnath chuckled, a rare sound for him. You know, Venix, I used to dread these moments, but now I look forward to them. This is the most alive this academy has ever been. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparation as Jake, Zarnath, Venix, and the rest of the academy geared up for the first ever galactic games. Alien species from all across the galaxy arrived, eager to participate or witness the spectacle. The Gravity Flux Arena had been transformed into a multi-dimensional maze, complete with moving platforms, fluctuating gravity zones, water sections for the Aquarians, and of course the infamous floating jelly slugs. On the day of the games, the stands were packed with spectators from every corner of the galaxy. There were the Gorthaks, cheering as their team prepared for the obstacle course. The Syrians floated near the ceiling, their gaseous forms rippling with excitement. Even Chancellor Zoralux and Vice-Chancellor Krenix watched from a special viewing platform, their glow and buzz showing their anticipation. Jake stood at the center of the arena, his grin wider than ever. "Welcome to the first Galactic Games," he announced, his voice booming across the dome. "We've got events that'll push every species to their limit. But remember, it's not just about winning, it's about having fun and learning how far you can go." The crowd erupted into cheers, tentacles waved, antennae buzzed, and the cloud puffs above the arena released a puff of glittering vapor, signaling the start of the games. The first event was the Zero-G Parkour Challenge, and as expected, Jake took the lead, leaping from platform to platform with ease. But to everyone's amazement, the Gorthaks weren't far behind, their once slow-moving, gelatinous bodies now fluid and agile. Next came the gravity surfing event, where the Syrians excelled, their gaseous forms riding the gravity waves with grace. Jake, of course, was right there with them, pulling off stunts that left even the Syrians in awe. As the games continued, it became clear that the Galactic Academy had transformed into more than just a school. It had become a symbol of unity, innovation, and boundless potential. Every species, from the agile to the slow, from the solid to the gaseous, found their place in this new era of intergalactic collaboration. By the end of the games, it was clear that Jake's vision had come to life. The Galactic Games were a resounding success, and the Academy students, instructors, and spectators had all learned one thing: the universe was a lot more fun when you were willing to bend a few laws of physics. As the final event concluded, with Jake leading a synchronized jelly slug dodging competition, Zarnath and Venix stood on the sidelines, watching their once impossible gym class flourish in ways they could never have imagined. "We did it," Zarnath said, his antennae twitching in satisfaction. "No," Venix corrected, his eye stalks focused on the grinning human in the center of the arena. "He did it." Jake, oblivious to their conversation, gave a thumbs up to the crowd and then called out, "All right, who's ready for the next challenge?" "I've got an idea involving zero-G dance battles and quantum physics," Zarnath sighed, but there was a smile on his face. I suppose the universe will never be the same again, and he was right. From that day forward, the Galactic Academy, once a place of structured learning and rigid routines, became a beacon of creativity, fun, and collaboration, all thanks to one human who believed anything was possible if you just looked at it the right way, and of course weren't afraid of the occasional floating jelly slug. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. For every comment that says, we will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.